seated. Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor.
We have Cassandra and Doyle is coming before the court today for a bond hearing. She is represented by counsel. Please state your name for the record.
Rosemary Parham.
Thank you. She's charged on arrest warrant 2022A 2210 500048 manslaughter. Ms. Dollar, please answer.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You have the right to be informed of the nature of the charge. I see that you have exercised the right to have counsel present, the right against self-incrimination, the right to due process, the right to a speedy and public trial, the right to bail, the right to a preliminary hearing. I need to inform you that you have 10 days, if in fact you desire to have a preliminary hearing, to return the form back to my office. The clerk will give you a copy of this at the end of a bond hearing. The right to unanimous verdict, and the right for a reasonable time to prepare for your defense, and the right against double jeopardy, and the right to be present at all proceedings pertaining to your charges. Counsel, I'll be glad to hear from you at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. First, Your Honor, I'd like to say that Cassandra is very sorry for what happened on Sunday morning, and she grieves with the Langley family. This is not the day to try the facts of this case. There will be a trial in this case, and each side will be heard at that time. And as Your Honor knows, a bond hearing is not meant to be punitive. It's merely a hearing where a person charged with a crime is afforded the right to a bond, and everyone's entitled to a bond. And the only two considerations before Your Honor is whether Cassandra is a flight risk and whether she's a danger to the community. And Your Honor, she's neither. Cassandra graduated from Hemingway High School. She attended Florence Darlington Tech. She served our state honorably for 25 years. She served as the police chief of Johnsonville. She served as the police chief of Lake City as an interim chief. And Your Honor, she is 52 years young. She is a mother. She is a grandmother. And she is also a woman of modest means. Even the home that she lives in, she owns with her sister. Your Honor is not going to have to worry about Cassandra showing up for court. She voluntarily submitted herself to SLED for an interview. A lot of people don't do that, but she chose to do that. She has not hidden from this. She has appeared at every time the state has asked her to, and she'll continue to do so. Your Honor, she is not going to commit any crimes while she's out on bond. She is going to appear for court, and she is not going to commit any crimes against the state. So, Your Honor, I would ask that you give her a modest bond. She is a modest woman and has no record, and has until Sunday, has had an unquestionable career with our state. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be glad to hear from the solicitor, Mr. Dixon, at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor. As Your Honor is well aware, we're here for the purpose of the bond setting, and one of the things that the court has to understand is the danger of the community and the risk of flight. Of course, part of the danger to the risk of flight we have is the likelihood that the defendant will be found guilty of the charges facing him. In other words, is there a pressure or reason to want to avoid the consequences of their actions? And as such, I think the court needs to have a basic understanding of what transpired that night, very basically. Obviously, I completely agree with defense counsel that this will be fleshed out in a court of law in front of a jury of 12 individuals. But right now, the probable cause basis that generated the arrest is pretty much not in doubt, and that is This dollar was working for the the Hemingway Police Department, a municipal police agency here in Williamsburg County. She saw the victim in this case, Mr. Langley, kind of slow roll a stop sign. All of this is captured on the dash cam video by the officer. Upon seeing that traffic violation, she activated her blue lights and sirens and turned on that individual. Once he saw the blue lights, he started to slow a little bit and then accelerated and did not stop when those blue lights were activated. The problem from that point on is that chase ultimately runs nearly 8.9, almost 9 miles out of the jurisdictional limits of Hemingway municipality. It goes into Williamsburg County. It goes through Williamsburg County, ultimately around 3.7 miles into Georgetown County, and speeds in excess of 100 miles an hour. I think the max out on the dash cam is about 127 miles an hour. And it's just important for the court to recall that that is all for rolling a traffic sign at that, a traffic light at that time, a traffic signal device, a stop sign. Subsequent, it appears on Schoolhouse Road, Mr. Langley maybe oversteered into that turn a little bit, but he crashed his car at a fairly low speed upon braking into a ditch right there, and that's where the circumstances surrounding. I won't get in tremendous detail on that, other than at that time, Officer Dollar tried to effect an arrest and a seizure of Mr. Langley's person on the side of the road in outside our jurisdiction in Georgetown County. And then upon approaching Mr. Langley from the passenger side, in her subsequent statement, she indicated she thought she saw something in his hands. She did not identify that as a weapon. And all these statements are corroborated by her body cam footage, where you can see the individual's hands, that he's not holding a weapon. There was a single round discharge in his chest and it killed him as a result of that shot. Ms. Dollar was cooperative during the course of this investigation, and she gave statements to law enforcement to her credit. One of the statements of concern is relating to the fear that she said that she felt, and that she had seen the look in his eyes and she thought that she was in trouble. And that's why she felt the necessity to fire a fatal shot. I say that for the court's edification because that's the basis for the charge here, which is voluntary manslaughter. And as your Honor is well aware, voluntary manslaughter is the unlawful killing of a human being rising from a sudden heat of passion and a state of mind, and then very quickly thereafter, sudden impulse to do violence without malice aforethought. So if it is the case that she does believe that she's in fear and that she's driven to fire a fatal shot, that shot were unreasonable, there's no malice indicated, and I think that's important for the court to understand as it relates to bond setting. About the state is not alleging that she had hatred or ill will towards this individual at the time she filed the fatal shot, but she was unjustified in doing so and could not do that at that time, regardless of whether she was outside her jurisdiction. The fact of a violation of 13.340A, the statutory limits on her jurisdiction, is just more problematic on why we're even there to begin with after that. But we want to make sure the court understands the significance of the charge, the nature of what the state is alleging to her. Having said that, I'm not trying to mitigate it because involuntary manslaughter, which carries a mandatory minimum of 2 years up to a maximum penalty of 30 years, it is a violent offense in the state of South Carolina. That means it's a no parole offense. That means whatever sentence Ms. Dollar gets, she'll serve 85% of that sentence if she is ultimately found guilty of these charges. I say that because she does not have a criminal record. She does have roots to the community. But anytime any individual is faced with the likelihood of being held accountable for their actions, there's a tendency to want to avoid that concern, and that's why we're asking for a substantial bond in this case to assure her appearance in court concerning this. I do know that there's several attorneys here that are present that are representing the family. The family's been tremendous through this process, and I do believe that they would like to provide some input into your decision at this time, if the court will allow that. I'm going to start with Bakari James, and I think that he'll
Bakari Sellers.
Excuse me, Bakari
Don't worry,
Sellers. I apologize.
I like
about
that name. That's my alter
I'm
ego.
thinking off the top of my head. I apologize.
Your Honor, we won't belabor the point. We won't be here long. I know usually I'm on one of these, well, on that side of the table, so we won't be here long. My name is Bakari Sellers from the Strong Law Firm. I have the honor of representing this family, the Langley family. 4 children of majority and 6 that are younger than that, and his beautiful mother here, who's dressed to the nines today, who's been through a great deal. Your Honor, their family's been through a great deal over the past 5 or 6 days. Your Honor, what we would like for the court to still recognize is that this was an unjustified shooting, Your Honor. Mr. Langley did not have a weapon in his hand, Your Honor. And it wasn't just a failure that night, but this was a failure by the entire system and criminal justice system in South Carolina. We've identified and we know that the officer has been fired or removed from 2 separate jobs that she's had in law enforcement, Your Honor. And that night was a culmination of a failure, not just on her part, but on the state's part. She should not have been on the road and she should not have shot Mr. Langley that evening. We would ask, Your Honor, and we know that Ms. Parham is probably the best lawyer in the state of South Carolina. I say that with all sincerity, and we understand based upon her statement, and it is true that she is probably entitled to some bond. The family is aware of that and understands that, Your Honor, but we do want this court to understand not just the pain that this mother is going through and these children are going through, not having a father, but the pain that this community is going through. We've seen these actions across the country where you have unarmed black men that are killed by law enforcement officers. And along those same lines, you now add another name of Robert Langley to that long list, Your Honor. And we know what that does to communities. And we want, Your Honor, to understand the pain caused by this shooter, by this officer to this community. Your Honor, the last thing that I'll mention before I know Ms. Rosin is going to speak briefly is that we would ask, and I know we asked it earlier, but I want to make sure it's on the record, but we would ask that there be no contact, Your Honor, from the defendant or the defendant's family, directly or indirectly, social media or otherwise. No statements made, nothing that can seem to be seen to exacerbate the situation, Your Honor. We have a great deal of concern about statements that were made on social media and video. We've turned all of those things over to law enforcement, Your Honor. This family hasn't even put their loved one in the ground yet. And yesterday they saw the video of their loved one being killed, Your Honor. So today we just continue on this quest for justice for Mr. Langley, and we thank you for your time in this court's consideration. If Mr. Malloy would have something to say briefly, we'd turn it over to Ms. Langley as well.
If I can, just a second, to corroborate that, that's one thing I want to bring up. We have been following up on, it's the interest of the state of South Carolina to cool the temperature in the room and much that calm heads will prevail on a jury of 12 individuals. It has come to our attention, and thank you for much, concerning potentials for threats back and forth and all that, and we want to calm the temperature surrounding this entire situation. We will absolutely ask for the court for no contact order, and Your Honor is very familiar with situations in the past. That includes family members, other members that are trying to antagonize or act on behalf of the defendant. And we wanted to make sure that we've been verifying that, and we support that 100%. So I want to thank you. Place that.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor. I'm Gerald Malloy, Malloy Law Firm in Hartsville. May it please the court. Your Honor, it's a pleasure to appear in front of you. I just regret that I have to be here under these circumstances and doing a case just like this. Mr. Robert Langley Jr., as he's called Junior, had 10 children. And one thing in common with all of them is that they love him dearly. Some of them are here today, six minors. His mother is here. She's going through a lot today. Her husband is at home having emergency care right now. Had a son that was in a bad wreck in Florida right after this happened, who was incapacitated and could not be here with his family. But yet, under the pressure of all that, she comes here today to end up making certain that she can represent her son. Your Honor, the solicitor has laid out the facts. I do want to just say these parts. You've been on the bench for almost 3 decades, and I've been doing this for over 30 years. And I've seen a lot of police shootings. This is one of the most egregious. A total unarmed man, 8 miles plus out of your jurisdiction. And there's a story that is being told that will be told later. And I was reminding this fantastic agent here that there was a fellow named Paul Harvey. And Paul Harvey would say, there's the rest of the story. And the rest of the story will never be known here in this courtroom because we're dealing with matters of bond. But what I would say to you is today, and the rest of these folks, is that just because you wear the blue, we respect that you should still be treated like every other citizen. When it comes to matters before the court, and And that includes all aspects of bond, because I think that this is an egregious case, Your Honor. And we would ask for Your Honor's wisdom in giving the bond that you would see fit. I do not think that it should be a modest bond, as it was requested by my friend, the defense counsel. And with that, Your Honor, I say that to this family, they are waiting to tell you the story of Robert Langley Jr., who we think was unjustifiably killed. Made the charge of voluntary manslaughter here within a matter of days will show you the aspect of this case and how serious a nature that it is. Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, Brandon Williams here. My law firm is Indigo Family Law and Family in Surfside Beach. I represent the mother in this matter, and this court knows I actually am from this area. I've known this family my entire life. I knew Junior personally since the day he was born. We are not here today, as you said. I normally am on that side of the table too, and we're not here today to try the case. We know the court has wisdom. We know the court is more than likely this defendant is entitled to consideration for a bond, but the family would certainly ask for a substantial bond, and for the court to use their wisdom in making that appropriate.
Your Honor, I would like for you to know who my son is. He's a very nice young man. He took care of me and his dad. He took care of his family. He has a large family, but like most young men don't take care of the kids when they get them. They get them and they throw them away. But my son, he took care of his family. He worked like a young man. He took care of me and his dad. These are things we're gonna miss. And I love my son with all my heart. And when they come and told me that he was killed unjustified, it killed me and his family. Nobody understands what I'm going through right now about my son. My son means the world to me. And I would like for you to get the I would like for you to get the highest bond you could. And I'm trusting y'all to do the best y'all can for me and my family. Thank you so much.
Nothing more from the family, Your Honor.
Anything from the state?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Your Honor, there's been talk about wanting a high bond, all that. You know, there's no question in this courtroom that she is entitled to a bond. And by putting an unreasonably high bond on her, Your Honor, that she can't make, it kind of defeats the purpose of one getting a bond. And again, you know, she has no record, and we do need to get ready for this trial, and there is going to be all different sides put on this case, and so we would ask that she be given a bond that she can make, so that she can help me defend her case. Thank you.
Mrs. Dollar, there will be conditioned to not to have any contact with any of the family members. That is the immediate family members. That you're not to leave the state without informing the solicitor's office. Any change of address must be forwarded to the solicitor's office. Should be no contact with any family members that are on your side or informing others to make contact with any other family members. No social media of any sort. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Are there any questions?
No, Your Honor, and we will certainly abide by all the terms that you impose.
Thank you. This time I will set a bond in the amount of $150,000 cash surety. To also inform you that there are some initial appearance date, and you will get a copy of this, which is April the 7th at 2022, 1:30 p.m. And the second is May 12th, 2022 at 9 a.m. You are required to be present. If your counsel is going for your defendants going to meet bond today?
We'll discuss that, Your Honor, after here. Thank you.
If so, in the package, we will give you a copy of the preliminary hearing request, and you can leave it with the court or make sure it's returned back to the court within 10 days for this defendant.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Done right by them in terms of making a quick arrest, making a quick charge, and having a substantial bond. As I stated earlier, one of the themes of this case, though, is that the state of South Carolina failed this family. From watching the tape and everything we know, this woman should not have been on the streets. She was already fired twice. There was no reason that she was able to kill Junior that night. We're going to have the two, unfortunately, now they are the leaders of this family because of the death of their father. So we'll have his two eldest boys speak, and then we'll be done for the day, and we'll let them continue the funeral plans. Robert.
We saw the footage of the incident, and today the honor gave a just bond, and all we can do is wait.
How y'all doing? My name is Tyree Lang. I'm 22 years old. I'm his second oldest son. Today we were pleased with the bond that was set, and that's all we really care about, just getting justice for my father and making sure that he's not forgotten, because obviously he's going to be missed by all of us, but we just making sure that they handle the case right and everything is settled and handled properly. Thank you.
So obviously, none of this will bring your father back, but what is justice? You
So-
say,
So I think that what happens is that, you know, the family, I mean, obviously he can end up speaking, but I think that what is happening is that they want the world to know that their father, who their father was. They love their father. He had 10 children. They're all together. They're showing love here. I thought, like Bakari just said, everything has been handled appropriately and professionally here with a lot of transparency. The judge approached this in a very, very great manner, because he listened to every side. He showed what he felt about the case, $150,000 surety bond. And so she's not being treated any different than any other citizen. I think that the rest of the story is something that we just talked about. She's been fired at 2 other jobs. She's out at 1 o'clock or so in the morning by herself. And the system failed Robert Langley Jr. And this family is suffering. Go ahead and answer.
One more question before they get out of here. Any more?
can I continue my question?
Sure, go ahead.
So I was asking, obviously none of this will bring your father back, and you mentioned that the family wants justice. What does justice look like for your family?
Justice for my family, as long as she's held accountable for what she did. Like you said, it's not going to bring my father back. It's not. You know, only thing we want is justice for him. That's all we want, to make sure this don't happen to nobody else, because this been happening for so long that we're tired.
Thank you guys so much. Y'all have a blessed day.
Thank you.